I have a lot to say about the tolerance of this country.
Speak.
You know, because like first off, the word tolerance is already, you know,
It's a
come
messy
on, it's
idea.
shady. I mean, you tolerate a dog with dirty, you know, paws in your house. That's something you tolerate. Doesn't mean you accept or love it. You know, so if you tolerate me in your country, like, okay, how much heart do you have, you know? Because it makes me feel proud to see that we're here, like we're still here, and we're thriving too. You know what I'm saying? So it that drives me as well.
I find it interesting that your work means you're in multicultural spaces pretty much. Well, this is my assumption that you spend a lot of time in multicultural spaces.
I do.
Both leisure time and work time.
Definitely.
That's quite like a luxurious position to be in the Western world, I think, especially in the Netherlands. So, do you think that gives you extra confidence in yourself, or how do you feel it changes your
Yeah.
perspective on your daily life and
I feel amazing. I feel amazing. I mean, to me, seeing black people around me is joy. That's how I can describe it. It's joy to me. So, you know, I might have a really bad day, but I step out, you know, I live in Amsterdam Southeast. I go do some groceries and I see a few black men greeting each other, being, you know, really lovely to each other. Or, you know, it's those type of moments. Just hearing black people laugh makes my day, you know, and definitely I feel like it's a privilege to be able to move in different spaces. And like you said, in this country, it's not always a given that you get to connect to the people that you identify with. But it definitely has a really positive influence on me because it makes me feel proud to see that we're here, like we're still here, and we're thriving too. You know what I'm saying? So that drives me as well. So I know what I'm doing it for. I see the people around me. I see what they're doing. Yes, positive.
is this a conscious choice you made in your career to be in spaces that reflect you everywhere, or you feel it just happened?
I would say yes and no. Um, I'd say that because of the way I was brought up and where I grew up, it wasn't a conscious choice. But of course, you do have the choice to maintain it. And so I think that was a very conscious one. I mean, it does have, you do have an advantage being brought up in a certain space that is very culturally diverse. You know what it's like, and so you get to experience how you fit into that. And so if you like it, you get to do it more. You know, I didn't have to get acquainted. So I think it was both, but I always make promises to myself. I don't usually make promises to other people a whole lot, but I do make promises to myself when it comes to protecting my own energy or like maybe if I want to pursue something. And one of these promises was that I want to surround myself with good people. My surroundings need to be good people. I don't care where I am. My surroundings need to be good people. And if that's the people that make me happy and the people I feel I can be meaningful for, then that's probably going to be a very culturally diverse space. Yeah.
When I interviewed Bless, he talked about being from Amsterdam. He was very clear about that. You do the same thing. So is this a running theme that for somebody who's not white to see Amsterdam as a specific space with a specific vibe, which is not the same outside?
Yeah, I feel him. I feel like it's especially a lot of creative people, you know, especially you feel there's a certain vibe going on. And I have a lot to say about the tolerance of this country.
Speak.
You know, because like first off, the word tolerance is already, you know, come on, it's shady. I mean, you tolerate a dog with dirty, you know, paws in your house. That's something you tolerate. Doesn't mean you accept or love it. You know, so if you tolerate me in your country, like, okay, how much heart do you have, you know? But if we're, you know, going with that term, there's a lot you could say about tolerance, you know, like in practice. But I wouldn't say that we have it bad, you know, and that's a privilege too. So I definitely feel like that's already one thing that you want to identify with when you live in this country. because it's not like that everywhere else. You have cities like The Hague or Rotterdam or Utrecht, basically the cities in the Randstad, and they're usually way more diverse, way more inclusive. It's not 100%, but you'll feel more at home when you're someone who's looking for certain stuff. So when people ask me, especially foreign people, I usually say, I'm from Amsterdam. But I also think that's influenced by tourism. Like usually when people ask you where you're from and you tell them the Netherlands, they'll follow up with a question saying Amsterdam, because that's what people know. So it's both.
I have a question to you about representation. What do you feel about representation of people of color in the Netherlands, and also do you go to the cinema?
Representation, I'm not too fond of it in this country. I feel like there's a lot to be done. I feel that as a community, we have a lot to do. And I'm really proud of the fact that I see so many creative people creating stuff for their own and hiring their own people and making sure we are represented. But I think we can do way more, push way harder, because even in our own Black communities, we adopt the very, white Western concept of representation, which, you'll see it in commercials or whatever. There can be a cast of 10 people, but only one of them will be Black. Or, you have a TV show and the Black person will be one of the best friends, it can only be one, it can only be two out of the 10. As if it always has to be balanced out by what is considered normal. When if you'd go to an area like mine, normal means a lot of cultures. So you might see people walking around being best friends and all of them are Black or all of them are Pakistani. Like, that's a certain norm that I don't see, especially in media, I do go to the cinema. I do. That has less to do, of course, with like this country, because you could watch, American movies or French movies or whatever. But I find myself usually watching Black movies because I find representation so important. But I don't know. To me, it's like I'm very much aware of the lack of representation, so I don't look for it. I'm like, okay, if y'all don't want to represent us, that's fine. I'll do it myself, So it's I think it was the Grammys or Oscars, I don't know, when Tyler Perry said, while you were trying to get a seat at the table, I built my own. For me, that's a really powerful one, Like we already know about the lack of representation, but what we do in our own communities is very ambitiously strive to be a part of their image, and that's exactly what they want, because then you'll always be begging. You'll be begging for a spot. So that's how I feel about representation in this country. It's still a very ongoing thing with trends like diversity, which is, a debatable thing. It's.
What does it mean to you when you hear it? Because you look irritated. So what does it mean?
Absolutely nothing.
When you hear anything.
Put your money where put your money where your mouth is. I mean, if I say the word diversity, there's a whole lot of things that I could mean with it. Culturally diverse. You could talk about sexual identity. You could talk about a lot of things. But when I see a magazine cover with diversity matters, I know it does. So why is that, the topic of your magazine? It should be normal. So if people try to make it trendy, make it popular, then you're just capitalizing of what other people's struggle is. So that's why I'm a bit iffy about it.
I just feel like the conversation in the Netherlands is in its early stages. Like there isn't even vocabulary around a lot of things, around race and discussing race and identity and what it means and the significance and the subtleties. So I'm hoping that there will be the vocabulary, because you've got to translate it into Dutch, and then the Dutch need to get that. So it's quite a few steps. But I'm optimistic, because at least the conversations are starting. Even if one is irritated, the word diversity is actually something.
At least it's gaining some. I mean,
exists.
I might not be ecstatic about it, but at least it's getting into
it's
people's
become a thing.
heads. Yes.
From my perspective, it hasn't moved into action.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it should be driven by people who are not part of the diverse community, because you cannot speak on what you don't understand. You cannot create strategies if you don't understand the issues. Please like and subscribe. Shout out Hues Films.